But it's we're glad to be back, and we're really hoping that the audio is good this week. And we really apologize for that last week. And we're going to get Scotty Sauer back on here as soon as we can. Maybe playoff time.
Oh, for sure.
It was Scott's fault, wasn't it?
It was. I think he brought some maybe bad karma.
This is the one thing I've learned in my house.
It's you?
It's my fault.
Okay.
It's always my fault.
I have no problem blaming you. It works out. Usually I'm the one to blame. So that works out. So let's get on today's show. What do we got on the show today?
We're going to talk some NHL, the emergency backup goalie protocol. The general managers are all down in Florida. They're the meetings, the yada, yada, yada. And they're talking about maybe changing the protocol, reviewing it, going over it, seeing what could be good, bad, or otherwise kept or pitched. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Bobby Ryan. I really thought that was a super cool story. But he came back to the Senators in epic fashion, and we're going to give a little chat about that.
Awesome.
Feel good.
I have no problem with that chat. And then we're going to move on to some CFL stuff. CFLPA elects a new president, and it's our middle linebacker, Solomon Elimimian.
Yeah, I beat out a couple names there.
Yeah, so I think they said it was the first, or at least the first in a long time American player. That was
since George Reed in
George Reed,
92 or 93.
You never go wrong with more George Reed.
Nope, not at all. And some other news and stuff around the league, and then we'll throw some XFL in there. It's depending how you want to look at it, it's either getting better or worse. So we'll discuss.
A little here, a little there, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll jump to some NFL news. The Combine was this week. It's not quite over yet, but
not quite.
Speaking of Combine, we're not talking 9600 John Deere or an 860 Massey for all you hillbillies out there like me. Yeah, thanks, Maddie. No, there's some good-looking guys there. They putting on a performance, and some stock going up, some stock going down. We'll talk a few of those names. Guys who caught our eye, and then a few trade rumors. There's a couple interesting ones, and that's about it.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in the NFL.
That'll be show.
Anyway, starting with
NHL.
NHL.
So pretty much everybody in this hemisphere probably knows about the emergency backup situation that happened, the Hurricanes, the Leafs, all that jazz. The general managers are having their annual March meetings in Boca Raton right now in Florida. Maybe they're not really talking about anything. They just want to go to Boca Raton.
Wouldn't you?
With a big snowstorm.
Wouldn't you?
There's an official agenda.
Yeah, is there?
And what was number one on the official agenda, guys?
Tip your waiter. Anyway, there's some talk, and there was a few names out there, a little bit of leakage in the press like usual, that they wanted to maybe change the protocol in some different ways. Looking at the idea that a 42-year-old Zamboni driver wins a hockey game as a goaltender didn't sit well in some people's minds. So
I think it was a little bit to do with he was an employee of the Leafs too,
well,
wasn't it?
he is and he isn't. He's not officially paid by them, but I mean, still, yeah. It doesn't maybe look good on the league that a average Joe can walk in.
Yeah, he should definitely be above average.
Yeah. Well, I think with the win, he was at least more average more above average than the Leafs.
It's better than a Canucks goalie was that last night.
And they put his stick in the Hockey Hall of Fame. That's got to count for something, right?
That's pretty cool.
Jerome McGinley doesn't even have that.
Maybe not.
Is his stick in the Hall of Fame?
Which one?
Jerome McGinley.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Anyway, no, they were talking about maybe having a full-time staff member on each team play goal. A third goalie maybe not being a good idea because of the roster spots, or expanding the roster by one, and then paying for it because there's a minimum salary and all this other stuff. So not really having the arena staff go in, or at least maybe framing it in a different way. So if they're going to actually change the process, though, what would be your preferred way? Like, if you could not keep the status quo, how would you change it up?
I don't know. I kind of dig how they're doing it, man. I really do.
But it's a little bit, like, I mean...
But they did vote on it today, just so we don't...
just as a sidebar, yes. And it seems like they're going to keep it.
Yeah. It just doesn't happen enough. But I get your question. I guess in a perfect world, you'd want every arena to have some guy who is at least of some quality, but that's not necessarily working for one of the teams. But I don't know, really, how often does it happen? This makes a feel-good story, and one of these days it's not going to be a feel-good story, and then they'll probably talk about changing it again.
Is it only being talked about for the simple reason that the guy won, and he won against the Leafs?
Yes.
So, is it really a big issue other than Leafs Nation
it's
being
not a big
embarrassed?
issue. It's a feel-good story, and that's why we're still talking about it.
So, I mean, I kind of searched through some of the different options that were out there, and having a guy that kind of meets at least some minimum criteria maybe in the rink would be a nice idea, right? But you can't pay him $50,000. Like,
well, I think that was ultimately the deciding factor, right? It's happened like twice in 20 years or something like that.
Twice in the last 3 years since they've had this thing.
But it's also been twice, I think, in like 20, right?
Something like that. But
it's not like something that happens.
Get a win out of it, though. I mean, still.
You think about how many games get played in an average season in the NHL.
Yeah,
it's a pretty rare occurrence.
And maybe if goalies stayed in their nets, they wouldn't get their heads taken off.
Truth, church.
I played goal. I wasn't going to go out there.
You stayed inside your little halo and
exactly,
like an angel.
Fucking lootly.
Well, in that same vein, though, I mean, there's still the idea that it's a little embarrassing. Like, the guy got a lot of publicity, and good for him. It is a feel-good story for him. But from a league perspective, is it not a little embarrassing?
Oh, it's
that you're at the absolute highest level you can achieve in that sport.
True.
And a regular dude can come in and at least moderately perform well.
But here's the thing.
Like,
is it not also good for the league?
Well,
we're talking about the league.
Yeah. Right. In this day and age, is there such a thing as bad publicity?
Isn't this really Rocky?
Rocky.
Yes. It's the everyman getting an opportunity.
An opportunity.
Right? Yeah.
All he has to do is
you have to do is play the Leafs.
Run up the CN Tower.
You have to play 2 periods. It's not like he won the bloody championship or something. Nobody's revering this dude as the next coming of some great.
No, but there is that embarrassment.
And it's the same thing as Rocky, right? He didn't win the damn fight, but he went the distance, and that was the victory for the everyman.
Yeah. Well, I can see where some of the GMs, though, the integrity of the game, an everyman shouldn't even be there, right?
But why not?
Well,
why not?
Well, you know what? Then the GM should draft some goalies that aren't going to bloody well get hurt.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Some tough Canadian kids.
But it is
exactly.
And that's sort of the thing. Like, then it kind of gets
not from Quebec, though.
You are the worst leaf in the world.
None of those Europeans and French guys.
That was the best commercial way back in the day. Hey, guy riding a little lawnmower.
Don.
Swearing about Matt Sundin.
You
are the worst leaf ever. Matt Sundin.
Remember the guys in the goalie stick chasing people around downtown?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I don't know. I can understand where they're coming from in the fact that it's a little embarrassing that an every guy can come in. But at the same time, everybody likes an underdog, though, too, right? A lot of people will cheer for this guy was the ultimate underdog.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, in my mind, I mean, maybe they could do a little more with it.
You know who else this helped?
Who's
the
that?
Leafs. They played a lot better since they got embarrassed that game.
Yeah. Well, true.
Hey, sometimes you need to get embarrassed to let you know that you need to buck up.
It's kind of maybe a little old school, but sometimes pain and fear is a good motivator, and embarrassment kind of logs in a third spot on that list.
Absolutely.
You can only talk for so long, and I'm pretty sure Sheldon Keefe was out of words.
You know what?
He seemed in press conferences to be out of words. So, maybe a little public humiliation.
There are not a lot of teams that get pummeled 2 games in a row, right? Usually when you get your ass beat, you come back with a little bit better effort the next time, right? When you're a pro athlete.
Right. And the irony, though, that Sheldon Keefe was out of words and a little public humiliation was somehow the turning point in their season. Mike Babcock basically got outed after he was fired for publicly humiliating in front of the team one of the young superstars on the team. So was Mike Babcock's tactics maybe needed? Maybe they get results.
No,
maybe you should.
I think that team did
shut
need
up
a little
out there
humility.
and let him do his job. He didn't make the kid walk like around Maple Leaf Gardens in a skirt or something. Like he embarrassed him.
Well, that would have been funny.
Mike's going to be the new head coach of the new Seattle franchise.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a sneaky feeling, but he should be a candidate anyway. But
new, more sensitive Babcock.
Maybe a little bit.
Do you need to be sensitive?
Just a little bit, probably.
Hey, even Tortorella's done some growing, right?
He has.
Oh, I'm sure he learned something.
But he's still
going to
come
situation.
right at you. There's no sideways agenda with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's still coming right at you. So just got to word it a little better. That's all he maybe had to do. Mm-hmm. That's all the learning he had to do.
At the end of the day,
all the learning,
emergency goalie thing. The only reason we're talking about it is because it was a real good start. If he would have let in 5 goals and Leafs would have come back, won that game, we would have talked about it as in a whole different matter, and it would have disappeared really quickly.
What if he's top 10 in jersey sales? That's why they only let
him. Beautiful.
It would be beautiful, but they don't have his jersey for sale. They're just doing T-shirts. But could you imagine?
It'd be awesome if they sold the whole mismatched set, eh?
Yeah.
Blue pants and all.
Instead of an e-bug, they'll have like an right of an e-bood and an e-oof.
Blue pants.
Yeah, emergency forwards and emergency. Anyway.
Who's the second guy to make blue pants famous? The first being Homer Simpson.
Oh, okay. I was thinking hockey player. I'm like, there's whole teams that wear blue pants, Matty. What are you talking about?
Like you lost me there, buddy.
All right. A naked Smurf.
Off to another real good, feel-good story.
Super good story. Yeah, Bobby Ryan comes back, plays his first home game. That was his second game back, and he scores a hattie after dealing with substance abuse since November 20th. That, you could, like seeing him on the bench, crying, holding back tears, being all choked up. Attaboy, Matty.
You caught that, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're on a water break too because you're choked up? No, it was super good. I mean, he was super emotional. His teammates were super supportive. He got a huge ovation from the crowd. And the Senators haven't had a lot of reasons the last 2 years to feel good or cheer that loud. So for the fans, I mean, how do you not feel good for that guy? Like, there's way more substance, and this is kind of what I wanted to get into a little bit too from this, was there's way more substance abuse, not just in the NHL, but I mean in pro sports in general. And who have you really heard about that's dealt with it? Or come out and said, I need help with it.
Yeah,
Theo Fleury was a guy in hockey lately, I thought about. And good on him. Helped himself. Bobby Ryan now, right? Mm-hmm. And Gordon in the NFL. But I mean, more and more guys are going to maybe feel good about coming forward and getting the support they need so they can get right as a person with the world, not just playing their sport. So
we certainly live in different times where a guy like in a sport like hockey will actually take the help that's given. The help's always been, like, it's been there for quite a while, but that stigma of, what do you mean? What, you got a problem with the bottle?
Yeah.
Well, just have another drink. It'll fix everything.
Let's talk about it over a bottle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, different strokes for different folks, and I think they're being more mindful and respectful of certain guys are dealing with certain things and they're people, so sometimes people have a hard spot in life, and can't deal with things the same as other people deal with things. So I'm really hopeful because there has been certain guys in certain sports, and like going back to even Theo Fleury with his substance abuse issues, having more of these guys coming forward, not saying there's going to be all of a sudden just a couple hundred, but I mean, if there are 100 of them, just for a hypothetical number,
it's a possibility.
That the support is there and they're getting better at providing the support, and the stigma isn't there so much anymore, that they can come forward, and the hockey is second and the people are first.
That's right.
Right? So good on the Senators for being supportive, good on the NHL for being supportive, and hopefully hopefully if more guys have this sort of issue with substance abuse, any substance, that they can come forward. So hopefully I kind of hope it's just a way to open the gate a little bit wider for more people to come through.
Mm-hmm.
So great on Bobby Ryan though. Great on him. So
but yeah, and then add on the goodness of, him being sober now, getting his life back in order, but then to add that type of game with his wife in the stands. And
and a hat trick, no less,
and a hat
right?
trick.
Like it would have been a hell of a story if he comes back and just scores a goal in front of the home crowd, right? Like, but a hattie.
Did you guys hear the story though of his the third goal there?
Oh, that
there's an empty netter or something. Yeah, his buddy's calling for it. He's like, "What the hell? I'm about to score a hat trick," and he's calling for the puck.
Yeah, the young guy.
Hey, young guys,
they just want the puck.
Don't always understand. Sometimes it takes a little learning. So
the bigger picture.
Anyway, also 10 years since the golden goal on the 28th of Feb. 10 glorious years.
10 years.
It makes me feel like it was not that long ago, but
what feels
Sidney
like a while
Crosby
ago.
Scored it, and you're kind of like, holy shit, we're talking about a goal he scored 10 years ago. So he's even getting up in age, but he was 22 when he scored it against of all nations, the USA, which, well, they could have beat him by 10 more and I'd have been happy. But
the golden goal.
Yeah, in overtime on home soil.
Yep.
Right. So he took a
Doesn't
pass.
Get much better than
he
that.
took a pass from Maddie's
most complete hockey player of my lifetime.
Eric Lindros didn't pass it. Jerome McGinley passed it to him.
Nice. Oh, soft cabbage boy.
Yeah, soft cabbage boy. Yeah.
We can't talk like that anymore.
Well,
you can.
He could have CTE.
He probably does.
Which sucks.
He probably had CTE when
you're not sidebarring
declared he wasn't going to play for Quebec.
I'm a huge Lindros fan, and I still don't want you to sidebar this. Anyway, he slid it under Ryan Miller in the first OT.
Yep.
Right? And
I watched it.
That's a pretty...
You watched it.
We watched
Everybody in this country watched it.
I watched it in my old house in the kitchen on a 13-inch TV while I was making some food. And I was just like, holy shit, that went in. It took a moment. It was one of those goals where you're like, you better replay that. I have no idea where that went. But anyway, Sid knew where it went. And hearing him recount the story of how it went in, he had a split second where he thought about maybe hanging on to the puck, and he's like, no, it's overtime. I don't think I'll get another shot at this. You never know. And just reacted and threw it at the net, and it went in. So good on him for trusting that instinct. So
that's why otherwise you got to take the shot.
Different outcome. So
you would.
Anyway, just sort of getting into that though a little bit too. Now that there is 10 years in between that goal and now, where does it rank in terms of hockey history or Canadian hockey history? Is it bigger than the Henderson in 72 or Lemieux in 87?
I think it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
I really do.
Like each of those generations has that goal.
I think maybe somebody like my dad's age would say 72 definitely.
He's a Leaf fan?
Still be. No, I think just that I think that was a...
And why isn't Henderson in the Hall of Fame?
That was
because he scored one goal.
At the time, I think that was a much bigger deal, like, nationally.
Yeah, the Russians and that whole, the friction and... Yeah.
Like that we don't really understand because we weren't there.
Uh-huh.
For me, even being not there, I still think that was a bigger deal than all those other ones. It was the most important
we went
goal.
toe to toe
just because of all the political overtones and stuff like that, right? Like that they don't even grasp
impact.
now. Like I caught the end of the Cold War, but not, right when it was in full swing, right? And I mean, that was serious business. I mean, there was hate in those people's...
Right, so it's like beating your enemy, whereas when we beat up in the States, it's more like beating up your bigger brother.
Your big brother, exactly.
Finally get a chance to beat up your big brother.
Whoa. You're talking hockey, though. They're our little brother.
True.
And but as a country, they're our big brother.
Okay, fair enough, but we're talking hockey. They're our little brother, and I'll explain why.
No, I get that.
But in the Summit Series,
we're
saying,
big brother. We always win.
Sure, but I mean, in the Summit Series, we're saying like, I mean, that was our enemy, right? Like those guys.
I still think the best play in that Summit Series was
Bobby Clark.
Yeah, breaking that ankle.
Harlamov.
You read my mind. That was the turning point. The TSN turning point was Bobby Clark putting a coho across someone's ankle.
It was either that or Esposito's speech.
Yeah, there you go.
Come on, guys. The guys are really giving their best out here.
But I think
those guys really knew how to lay it out there.
Like Kyle said, though, I mean, it is kind of generational.
For sure.
You know,
I remember 87. I remember the Canada Cup.
I do too.
I remember that drop pass. It's as memorable in my memory as 2010 was.
Being the right age, you can at least remember a couple of those goals and what they meant. So,
that's right.
You know, I still think it's probably the greatest line that ever was made was the Lemieux Gretzky line in 87. And who was their winger?
Who was it?
I know.
We're going to start giving away T-shirts.
We should actually
ask. The script.
We got some former guests on that are watching.
We're going to get some T-shirts or coffee mugs or something. Who knows who was on the line with Lemieux and Gretzky? If you could throw it up on the Facebook Live chat.
We're going to give a prize. We don't know what it is yet.
We'll document it. We'll make sure you get something for it.
But the first person to answer that question, who was on the line with Lemieux and Gretzky?
The 87th caller gets it because it was in 87.
Yeah. We'll be here for a while.
Okay. We don't even own a phone line.
So 0.87th.
Fair enough. Okay. First person.
So we'll wait for that. And while we wait for that,
I have another question for you.
Another one? Do we get it to give another prize?
Who was on the ice for Sid's golden goal? We know Iginla was, right?
Iggy,
yeah. And who are the D-men?
Well, this is an unfortunate one because it's kind of in the picture.
That's the Gretzky. You got the Gretzky goal up still. That's
you must be watching the live stream.
We are. It's a minute behind.
Anyway, it's a little behind, but all good. Anyway, it was Niedermeyer and Doughty just to beat the picture. How do you not keep the puck in their end?
I got news for you. You didn't beat the picture.
Okay, well, all good. I'm here. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Anyway.
He's just learning how these things work.
Yeah. Me and the technologies. Meyer and Doughty, and that almost means you have to be in their end. So Sid didn't score. I think Sid was going to score anyway. Iginla only hit posts, right, Maddie?
But he tried hard.
He tried hard. Yeah. Anyway, one last thing on the NHL I want to talk about, and the playoff races are absolutely insane right now. There's so many teams in it. It could go so many different ways. As of right now, the Battle of Alberta would be a first-round series. Flames-Oilers. That would be crazy. Epic shit.
That'd be good.
I love it. And seeing the Flames go home and get their golf clubs out after a first-round exit would be awesome.
It'd be embarrassing beaten by one team with fucking 2 players.
Did you see Lucic's goal the other night, Maddie?
They have three. Yes. Cassian.
Yes.
Lucic is on his game,
First 5-on-5 goal of the season.
Backlund's on fire.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want everybody to keep their eyes open because holy crap, there's a lot of stuff coming. Flyers have won 6 in a row. Vegas won 8 in a row, including Robin Lehner's season debut. The Rangers are coming to life, getting back in the picture.
Yeah, it should get exciting.
The Leafs aren't actually officially eliminated. They're back in the hunt a little more seriously. And that's just the Eastern Conference, for crying out loud. So,
I think we got to have some specials coming up that are probably going to be mostly NHL.
We'll digest that a little more. But, I mean, there's so many teams in it. Every night you go to TSN, you watch highlights, or Sportsnet and watch highlights. And it's whew, the standings completely rearranged, right? So I find it super exciting, but let's talk CFL.
CFL time.
All right, let's go CFL.
New CFLPA president.
Yeah. Solomon.
I think it's as
good
a pick as any. I don't know. He seems to be into whatever he does. So.
He went up against Keon Raymond. Augustin Baranachia. I can't say that name. I don't know.
That was pretty good. That's probably one of the better names you've pronounced.
Peter Diakowski. Thanks. Just don't call me late.
Just
for
wait
dinner.
till I put together a sizzle reel of you pronouncing sports players' names incorrectly.
Oh my God, that would
I'm not a bad talker, but when it comes to names, it's like my tongue flips upside down. It's like, what the hell just came out of my mouth? Yeah, most of my friends have probably said that, but not just about the names I say. Anyway, he beat out some pretty decent names. I mean, Keon Raymond's been around for a while. Diakowski's a smart dude. He's been around. Having an active player as the PA president, I think is, it's not mandatory, but I mean, at the same time, it's a good idea as far as I'm concerned. They're in the trenches. They hear things in the locker room, whatever.
It isn't though, because I mean, that took away from him. Like, he lost a lot of his training camp last year during bargaining, right?
Yeah, but they're not bargaining every year.
Yeah, I mean, true.
Kind of thing,
Granted,
well,
yes.
Elimimian was also hurt last year, so starting the year.
True that.
But it's also the first American CFLPA president since George Reed.
And you can't have too much George Reed.
I think that's good. I think that's good because I think it's probably the American players that have the toughest time right now in our league.
Well, and figuring out maybe some of the recruitment or, just explaining what the CFL is to an American player. Like, there's all kinds of different angles you can come at it with. So.
Yeah.
Elimimian being a former BC Lion, BC Lions made some signings. They signed Dominic Rhymes. We talked about that a little last week, right? It was what, 100, basically 100 grand, 95 grand.
Yeah, great deal.
Which was a smoking deal for a quality 1,000-yard receiver. Now they signed Caleb Hawley, because we're talking about is Darrell Walker out of the running there, because they're considering him. With Caleb Hawley.
Sorry, Jill, you're wrong.
Mark, as in Marky Mark. Caleb Hawley was another guy they signed. Good veteran guy. He's never cracked 1,000, but I think it kind of is starting to smell like Darrell Walker's not a BC Lion.
Or anybody, maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe he's going to wait till somebody needs somebody coming out of camp, injuries, and go,
but
we have to pay somebody?
He's waiting to get paid, and nobody's offering him his number, right?
The time to get paid is over.
Oh, yeah, and I think
he's
screwed himself out of a contract by waiting to get paid.
Well, not out of a big contract, but
right.
I mean...
Yeah. He'll eventually... He can find work if he wants it, but is he going to...
And waiting for a training camp drop-off, is that,
Like, is it all about pride?
Might be.
Is that maybe the best way to go into a new team, or...
Well... Thanks, Jill.
Okay, we'll give her the answer later. I don't know. I just don't know who's advising this guy. That's my issue. Right? Talented guy. He's a little bit overvaluing his services by the sounds of it, or at least that was what was going around. So is he going to play this year? And if he does, is it because he fired his agent? Because he seems like he's not maybe getting the best of advice. If you don't play, you don't get paid.
I don't know. It's hard to stomach, right? I mean, you're talking guys of his comparable ability have signed for like 100 grand less, right? Like, that's a big effort.
Well, it's a big drop off.
Right?
So maybe the realization.
So that's a hard thing to stomach and get through. Like,
well,
your brain. Picture yourself taking that kind of a percentage of a pay cut, right?
Well, also the realization that maybe last year he was grossly overpaid.
Well, I think that's what's happening.
Well, he was grossly underutilized.
I think we're seeing a correction in a lot of salaries this year in the league from last year.
Well, with the new CBA, with the
salary
minimum
structure
contract
doesn't help.
being jumped up 10, 15 grand kind of deal, that completely changes the top end of the market.
Absolutely. Well, it changes the middle
actually,
too,
I
eh?
see the top ends going down.
And it has to, because you need a little more money to pay guys just on an entry-level deal now. Yep. So that money...
But the middle guys are really getting squeezed out because it's harder to pay those middle guys, so you're going to get more and more low-end guys.
Right.
It affects everybody. It really does, right?
For sure.
So, I don't know. I'd just like to see him sign somewhere already and get it over with. Like, he's a good player.
He's a talented guy. I want to see him catch the ball.
But... Make your 1-year deal count by getting to a place where you can actually be productive, get your numbers, and show it there, right? and go after some bigger money the next year.
Well, he won't be coming here because according to Naaman Roosevelt, he's not here because we have so many good receivers that he understood why he's not here anymore.
Yeah, and that's a guy who obviously
that's certainly nice to hear.
Plugged into what's going on around him. So
he certainly could
don't
not say
begrudge
nice
anyone,
things, but that sounds good as a Rider fan.
Yep, it does. And we drafted some guys, so you gotta put them on the field and see if they're actually going to work out.
We should see if maybe we can get one of those young guys on our podcast one time.
We should. We definitely should.
We should.
The life of a up-and-comer in the CFL.
I'll talk to some people.
Okay. Your people will talk to people.
My people will talk to some people who will talk to some people.
You're going to get on the interwebs?
Something like that.
Okay. And then also with the BC Lions, Mike Riley...
Still wrong, Jill.
Re-signed. Well, not re-signed. He restructured his 4-year deal. He was the highest paid player in the league at $725. But
not anymore.
Well, I think he still is. Maybe, I don't know. Depends.
So how did they?
He's still getting his money. I just don't know if they pushed out a bigger bonus or whatever it was. But still getting paid quite a bit of money. And I'm going to read out some numbers: 3,897 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions.
That would be awesome for a Browns quarterback.
Yeah,
it's a good year.
You know what those are? Eli Manning numbers.
Those are mediocre numbers.
Well,
for $750,000
considering in the
CFL,
3,800 yards is.
But
those would be good numbers for a $750,000 quarterback in the NFL.
He missed 2 games. He missed 2 games.
Was it only 2?
That's what it said on the.
Sure felt like he missed more than 2 games last season.
Either way, 70% completion's pretty good, but 20 interceptions, 15 picks. To me, maybe there is a little bit to do with the receivers too,
and being on
throwing
your
it
ass,
into some guys who aren't quite open, right? Or rushing throws is the interceptions. But still, 2,800 yards and that yardage, that is not, absolutely not. If he puts those numbers up, they'll be in last place again.
That's okay with me.
Deservedly.
And how much do they need to go up to deserve the money? I think he's got to go up 2,000 yards, 5,800 yards, or 4,800 yards in the CFL. Probably 1,000 for sure.
Got to get up
and
there around the 5.
He's got to cut the interceptions in half and go 50% higher on the touchdowns. 30 touchdowns with 7 interceptions would be a lot more like a $700,000 quarterback. But there's guys with 4,500 yards what were Cody's numbers who get
last year?
Much less than 700, about that ballpark.
That's what I thought.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know how they redid the deal, but even if he gets a little bit better numbers, he is absolutely not living up to them compared to what other quarterbacks are putting up for numbers.
Well, also what he's put up as his reputation too. I mean, he's a legitimate 5,000-yard guy.
He can be,
on a normal team, right?
And he should.
He played like a guy who was running for his life last year.
Do you think if he puts up the numbers I just said for one more season at that price tag, they're going to say the value's not there? You're 35 years old.
I'd cut his ass.
Step into my office. You're fired.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
that's the business of football, right? And that's
right. He may run into that.
That's the bonus of non-guaranteed contracts.
Right. So that was kind of my point, is if he has those numbers again, he's looking for a job. There's a lot of guys out there that have 1,000 more yards, half the picks, and a few more touchdowns than the 20 he had, and they're making $400,000 to $500,000. So he's basically at that price tag got to be in the running for MOP. And an MOP isn't on a last place team. So
Cody was 4,300 yards.
So about 500 more.
18 touchdowns.
Okay.
And 8 interceptions.
8 interceptions. And how many rushing touchdowns? He made some pretty good numbers in that department, right? Not all of it being in the air.
Right. I can't find rushing touchdowns. Probably rushing.
Well, Kyle looks for that. Speaking of Mr. Fajardo.
Fajardo.
I love that we have him. Anyway, Tomy talking about Randy Ambrosi was in town. He's talking Grey Cup in 2020 here in Ryderville, and they're doing a little something different, and they're bringing in the League of Legends. 10
rushing touchdowns.
Right. So 28 total.
Still wrong, Jill.
I like Jill. She's not quitting.
No, she's not a quitter, that Jill.
No quitters. But yeah, they're bringing in, well, maybe we'll see some kids quitting this national esports tournament right here in Regina.
I think
League
it's
of
great,
Legends.
man.
I think it's pretty cool. Now, kind of some questions about it. I always question everything. I'm like a tinfoil hat guy without the tinfoil some days.
Which
but
is weird.
the tournament comes with a $50,000 prize, right? And it's the biggest purse in Canadian history for a League of Legends tournament, which has never been held here in Regina or Saskatchewan for that matter. It is a good move to try to maybe get some more interest in what's going on here for that week and some younger fans. But my question is, okay, you drive up the interest in being in Regina at that time of year, and they're here, Grey Cup, whatever, right? But is it how does it draw you into football?
Because it's all going to be in the same area. It's about sports.
And it can bring people, I guess.
It's going to bring people.
Traffic.
You'll bring your kids. Say your kids aren't into football.
It's like a lost leader in retail.
It's not a lost leader, man. That's
No. But the same principle, right? I mean, just bring people in, right?
Sports
and once they come through, they'll see it.
This esports stuff is killing.
Wrong, Joe.
Some stuff.
But keep trying.
Anyway,
no, I think it's good, man. Like bringing in the younger kids, and sports is going to be this way soon. You're going to watch and consume sports in almost the same way that people consume video game sports these days.
Well, and my theory too is not that it's totally relatable, but I think once betting in sports and betting on all sports becomes very mainstream, it's going to change the way people look at sports, affiliate with teams, all that stuff. Fan loyalty kind of goes.
Well, there was a private members bill entered today to allow single sports betting.
Yeah, so
in Canada.
Anyway, more my point though too. Just getting back to this though is there's not maybe as much
played for Winnipeg.
Not as much common ground with the game of football from esports. So you're kind of like, I'd like to see it maybe have a Madden tournament, but they're not going to pay $50K and get the viewership. But I mean, it's
maybe if this works, the next time there would be.
Right. And I think it's a really cool idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Try something different. Try something new. If you're not trying something different,
hey, you know what? If it doesn't work, what have you lost?
You're being insane, right?
It's not like they're paying the $50K.
Right. It's just, yeah.
I'm betting that having that League of Legends thing here is not only not costing him any money, but I'm betting they're making money. The Grey Cup festivities, people are making money off.
Well, how many guys come and participate? How many are going to come and watch?
Yeah. So
that's all meals at restaurants and hotel rooms.
It's a win-win.
Straight cash, homie.
Straight cash. Anyway, that's it. CFL.
The question was, who was the other player on the line with Lemieux and Gretzky?
In the 87
Canada Cup. Continue trying.
Okay. Anyway, XFL.
Yeah,
week 3.
Speaking of in-game betting.
In-game betting, in-game talking to the
review judge. They change the lines as the games progress, eh?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, as the week progresses towards a football game, the line can change. So, it's just a lot more instant, right? It's very interactive. So there were 4 games on TV each week with the XFL. Okay. And the ratings are falling, but everyone's like, oh, it's the beginning of the end. Well, you have to remember when you first launch a product and everybody's interested, it's going to get a lot of viewership for a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
So week 1 had 12.4 million. Week 2 had 8.2, which was a pretty strong week, right? And then week 3 had 6.4. So there's got to be a leveling out point. I know there's people out there and they're doomsdayers and they're like, oh my God, it's going to be
I couldn't find any
disaster.
Week 4 stats yet.
There's going to be, the viewership's going to fall right off. It's going to fold up tent and that's it. there has to be a leveling off point, and I don't know where that is exactly, but I mean there are a couple of teams that have some pretty severe quarterback issues. So maybe viewership, like in the NFL or CFL, when you have a train wreck of a quarterback going in, people don't tune in for that.
Well, the quarterback play's gotten better.
It has.
It's gotten better.
And they had their first 300-yard guy this week, or 300-yard game by a guy, which it's going to happen, but there's some different rules. There's the chemistry issues, which I talked about prior to this, a couple of times now.
Better living through chemistry?
That's how we live.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take a sip. Anyway, there is a certain amount to be said, and average fans may not understand it, that it takes time to fully put in a playbook. You can't just come together, all brand new guys, brand new to the playbook.
Pretty much no training camp.
And do it in a month.
Well, yeah, and with pretty much no training camp.
Right. So, coaches don't even fully know sometimes what you're capable of doing without a little game tape.
Well, and the coaching staff, it's not like they've been working on a roster for
a long time.
They got that roster, what 3 weeks,
right.
2 weeks before?
Or even working together,
yeah.
Right? To say, this is what I think we have and this is what I think we should do. So I think there'll be a leveling off point. I personally think they're going to hang in that 4 to 5. Which isn't half bad, considering it's fledgling, and
I'd really be interested to see what week 4 numbers are, because they dropped $4 million the first week, and then 2 between week 2 and week 3. So if they can stay around that 5,
they're going to lose about 50% of what they lost the last time, is what I'm thinking, and it'll level off at about 5. 4 to 5. It'll hang in there.
Yeah.
Depending on the matchups.
Lose about another $1 million.
Right? Because there's only 4 games. If 3 of those games are going to be shitty games just on paper, it's gonna hurt who's watching. Yep. So, smaller league, that tends to happen. Is March Madness going to hurt their ratings? Potentially. Right? There's all kinds of stuff. So
still wrong, Joe.
They're going to level off.
And I'm pretty sure Brian Propp didn't play for Winnipeg.
Good old Brian Propp. He was
he was a flyer, right?
Do we give participation medals?
I don't know. We're going to have to.
Anyway, L.A. had...
But she's like one of our only 2 viewers, so we're going to have to be nice.
She's doing good. L.A. Wildcats and the New York Guardians, 17-14 game. Josh Johnson, former NFLer, who was pretty decent little quarterback in college, had the first 300-yard passing game in the league, but he lost. Like, how Tomy Romo of you.
Hooray.
St. Louis beat the Seattle Dragons. Former Rider, training camp fodder, B.J. Daniels, maybe didn't live up to his first name in the shower, got some reps for Seattle, and he led the team with 84 rushing yards and 100 passing. That's where they're at, though. B.J. Daniels was brought to Riderville I think it was 2016, is what I read.
3 or 4 years ago.
Anyway, yeah, they're hard up for quarterbacks. So they're bringing in guys from all over, guys who literally washed out of the CFL. Some of these teams are that hard up for quarterbacks. So.
Holy Jesus. Yeah. What is that?
So you may see a couple teams just do that. It's just going to be a in and out drive-through of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So, and then a couple do have pretty good ones, like Josh Johnson, who's been playing really well. Houston Roughnecks beat Dallas 27-20. Again, good rivalry game, right? Houston, Dallas, and is that blue or teal? I'm never quite sure. It doesn't look like true teal, but I measure everything teal-wise by the San Jose Sharks, and it is the wimpiest color ever created for a sports team. Nobody is scared of teal. I played on a team that had teal. Yeah. Scared no one. It's not up there. It'll never be up there either.
Sure?
Yeah.
Did you burn it?
I hate teal. Anyway, Dallas lost. DC Defenders, who looked really good at the beginning of the year. They lost to the Tampa Bay Vipers, who looked like they were shit in the bed, shit in the drapes, shit in the closet. All
it looks
first
like
couple.
Tressman may have figured out the league.
He
Well,
found
I
out
think
that
he
you're allowed to
changed
hand it
over
off.
his play calling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop throwing the ball.
So
'cause
he
your
had two
quarterback
100-yard
sucks.
rushers,
Yeah.
Jacques Patrick and Devion Smith, who, when I looked them both up, like size-wise, they're both like 230-pound guys. They're big guys. So they just came straight at him and said, old school, baby, we're going to smack you in the mouth and see if you can answer. There's one guy on the DC Defenders, though, Donnell Pumphrey. He was
Correct, Derek.
Whoa!
We have a
He
winner.
took Jill-
Ding, ding, ding,
He
ding,
took
ding,
Jill's
ding.
prize. Jill's going to shank him if she ever gets him in a room.
Well, they're probably in the same room together.
Okay. Sweet.
They're
I
Anyway,
need some sort of a victory bell. That was the closest thing I could
A
find.
gong.
They're probably sitting right beside each other. So
are they?
I guess it's a team win.
So if he gets her an extra large T-shirt, she gets to wear it.
Sure.
Sure, whatever. I'm not getting into that. That's their problem. Good on you. Thanks for the right answer there. Who was it?
My brother.
Oh, Derek. Sweet. He's smarter about hockey
Not your
than
brother.
You are.
Some strange person named Derek Bottcher that you've
Yeah.
never met before.
No, that's my
What
brother.
a coincidence. Same last name.
It's my brother. He's a cool dude.
Right.
He's a hell of a mixer. So if you need a recording project mixed, give him a call. His studio is Gorilla Sound in
Nice.
the Shuswap.
And the shoe swap.
So you can get a nice vacation out of it too.
I was just going to finish up by mentioning in.
Oh, we're still talking
in
about the Vipers?
DC, no, the DC Defenders who look pretty good. Donnell Pumphrey was a negless guy for the Riders, so
Right.
he seemed to be the only thing they had. Let him in rushing, which wasn't much, and let him in receiving yards, which also wasn't much. So I don't know. Maybe he'll do okay there, but he'll be Rider bound.
Hey, he could do both, right?
He could do both. He'll be in shape. Anyway, enough about the XFL. NFL Combine, the old 860 Massey, not applicable. What kind of combines did you have on the farm?
We had Massey.
Massey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys
Just
like
one.
Guys like burning oil, keep the
510.
mosquitoes away.
It was all we could afford.
We had Masseys, we had Intersmashables, we had John Deere's, we had
We were practice farmers.
practice farmers. Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, it was like the biggest deal, like what color your combine was, and it was like, oh, a green one, like we got to be John Deere. Now it's like
We just
We
looked at
don't
those
give a
people and said,
shit.
"Oh, those
Yeah.
are the rich farmers. They've got the green stuff. We've got the red stuff."
we've had everything but a New Holland on our farm, so no bananas. Anyway, NFL Combine, Mr. Ruggs, Henry Ruggs, he had her
Almost.
he had her to the fucking Rugs.
He looked like he could
flew.
go faster.
Yeah, he can go fast.
But he looked like he could have maybe gone faster.
You think his dad threw a cougar in the car with him, made him go fast? He ran a 4.27, which is
fast.
ungodly fast.
Not the fastest, though,
Not the fastest, but he's
but pretty damn fast.
Top
What
10
was the fastest?
Top 10 all time.
Wasn't John Ross the fastest?
Yep. John Ross holds the record. One guy I really wanted to watch run was T. Higgins. He's 6'4", a little over 200 pounds. Burner of a receiver. Should go in the top half or middle half of the first round. And he didn't run. He didn't do any drills.
So why was he there?
Interviews.
Oh, I suppose.
I liked him a lot, but I think he'll be a number one receiver for sure.
So then I guess why run?
What? Well, but the thing is
Yeah, but what if you run
oh,
slow?
I hate this
Number.
shit. Like T.
Or
Higgins,
pull your hamstring.
it doesn't matter when
I don't
he
even think
runs.
that's. I don't
If
even
he
think
runs,
that's it. No,
if-
but I think it does, though, man. I think it does.
No, it doesn't. If he runs a 4.6, he's slow.
Right.
Runs a 4.5, he's average. He runs a 4.4, it's expected.
Right.
Whatever he runs,
What if he has
3
a bad
weeks
day?
from now?
What if he has a bad day and runs a 4.5?
Okay,
But he
so
should run a 4.3.
He slides a little.
Exactly. So why would you risk that?
So why doesn't every single guy that goes to the combine who's projected to be a first-round pick just say, fuck it, I ain't doing it. All
I'm
I can do is
surprised-
lose.
Because some of them have a chance to position themselves a little bit better.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think.
better.
So does T. Higgins.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you don't,
The higher you,
he
the
runs
higher I think the higher you rank,
if
though,
T.
the
Higgins-
more you have to lose, right?
Well, Higgins
Exactly.
is one of the top 3 receivers, arguably, in the draft.
so if he ran,
If
would
he
he,
ran
be
a-
able to move up to the top receiver?
Well, right now, if I'm looking at T. Higgins as a 15 to 25 guy in terms of draft slot, and he goes out and it's like he runs something, 4.33, 4.37. at 6'4", 210. All of a sudden, I want him maybe in the 10 to 15 range.
Right.
Somebody's going to climb the ladder and go
but
get him.
maybe he knows he can't run that.
Maybe.
So maybe
But at some point, they're going to find out.
He's already sitting at his best
Some
size.
point,
yeah, exactly.
At some point,
People
they're going to find out.
Yeah, but are they like?
He's not going
do they
back
make
to
him
his
run
alma
the 40?
mater and running a 4.3 there that he couldn't run at the
But
combine.
maybe he doesn't run a 40.
Nobody's drafting a guy in the first round who doesn't run a 40.
In
At a
this day and
position
age, though, Heath,
like
I
that.
think it's all about marketing, right? It's not
He's
so much
getting-
about talent. It's about how you market yourself. And
Dude,
these guys have
dude.
already put this all together, and
I know
it's
it-
about how you can sell it, right?
Okay, and how do you sell a guy who doesn't run, doesn't want to run, or has a shitty number?
Well, if you've
you're
already
talking-
established
you're
yourself
talking
as
marketing,
a primo pick,
but you're talking marketing.
yes.
When I turn on tape, you're going to show up as fast
Right.
or slow.
Right.
A player
so why do you
or
have
a
to run a
bum.
40?
Exactly.
'Cause
If
you
everybody's already
you need a
salivating to
measurable.
draft you, they're tripping over each other to
Right.
get to
but
lick
T.
your
Higgins
boots.
at 6'4".
Why would
runs
you take that chance to drop your draft stock?
If he runs a 4.6, he's nothing.
Right. So why would you run?
Why do you want to be anything? I don't want a guy who
But it's not about
defers
competing.
on-
It's about making as much
It is
money
about
as you
competing.
can.
When you go to the combine, you want to put up a good number, better number than the guy beside you, because he's going to take your goddamn lunch money.
To be completely honest,
If
I
you're
think
a
the
competitor,
combine is a
compete.
fucking joke.
And
He's getting bad advice as far as I'm concerned.
I
If
think
you're
it's
a competitor,
it's a different
compete.
game now, though, Heath. It's
The
not
game's
about
the game.
competition.
You
No,
can
it's
either
not
get
about
open or you
competition.
can't
No,
get
it's about
open.
making money, right?
It's all about competition. You don't get there unless
It's
you
not
like
about
competition.
competition at that point, though. It's about making the money,
No, right now, it's
Nope.
about getting
There's no
the
money
highest.
in being. There's no money in hiding what you can do.
No, but right now his only
Apparently
job,
there is.
His only job is to get drafted as high as he possibly can. So his team would have sat down and said, "You know
the
what?
combine's a showcase for that."
Yeah, but they would have sat down and said, doing the combine, is it going to increase our draft stock, or is there a potential to decrease our draft stock? If there's any chance that they said, you know what, it could decrease your draft stock, then they're not going to do it.
What about
It
solidifying?
has nothing to do with competition.
What about
It's-
solidifying your draft stock? You may not climb up, but if they don't see you run, or if they don't see you lift as an old lineman, or they don't see you in drills, you potentially aren't even going to be looked at as a possibility.
To me, it's the same as that saying that my dad always told me. You can stay quiet and have everybody think you're an idiot, or you can open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Well, there's
So
that,
if they've
yeah.
already think that you're the bee's knees or number 3, but if you know that your stats, what you could do at the combine, which doesn't make you a good football player, it makes you a good shorts player. So to me, the combine means nothing. I want to watch a guy play football. That tells me if he's a football player or not.
True.
So
But if your measurables are way off the chart,
yeah, we
good or bad.
Yeah, and we just re-signed one of those guys as a rider, Josiah St. John. Measurables off the chart, fucking off the chart.
Fair enough. But the tape didn't say
Mario Williams,
Tape-
off the chart.
it. Tape didn't say it. Do you think Bill Belichick wins Super Bowls because he doesn't look at tape? But he still needs
Right.
to look at these numbers to reinforce what he saw.
I'm betting if you ask Bill, they don't. They
I'll
don't
bet you he
mean
doesn't
very
care
much.
so much about
they don't
the,
mean very much.
Belichick
Bet
was
you the
working out
interviews.
small school guys when nobody else was working. out
Interviews
small
are
guys.
big. When
Yeah,
you sit
working
eyeball to
them out-
eyeball with
working
somebody.
them out and competing in a track meet are two different things.
Working them out, running a 40 at their small school.
Yeah, the 40
At their
is
pro
the
day.
40 is a minor thing. They want to
No,
see
but it isn't just the 40.
a
It's the
quarterback
fact that you
throw
won't
a
get
ball.
out there and
They want
compete
to watch
against
a
your
receiver
peers.
run. To me, straight up speed for a receiver isn't the biggest thing, anyways.
Well, it may not be, but it also is something that is very valid and very important.
Sometimes.
Honestly, as a coach,
If you don't run the right route, it doesn't matter how fast you run it.
fair enough. But I mean,
Darius
I've
Hayward Bay.
I've done a lot of hockey evals. I've done a lot of even with lacrosse. If a kid just gets knocked down and lays there, I don't care how fast he is. He's got to compete.
Right.
This guy's not showing
So
the
do they have
necessary
the
compete.
do they have the smash you challenge in the combine?
No,
to
but
show
I mean,
tough
I
you
want
are?
a guy who can compete.
I'm just saying that the combine is such a small part of what makes a football player and who you choose as a football player.
But the underlying message that I'm saying is that the guy won't get out there and compete and try to show that he's as good or better than all these other guys. Because all these other guys are going to come and take your paycheck. They're going to come and take your lunch money because they're all hungry. They're all ready to compete. And as a coach, I'd rather have a room full of guys dialed up to 11 and figure out how to get them back to a 10 and be reasonable.
Yeah, but
I don't want the guy who comes in like T. Higgins, who seemingly is a 4 or 5, and then try to get him motivated on Sunday.
But you're only one of 32 GMs.
Fair enough. He's not my guy.
Right, but he's going to be somebody's guy.
And I'm going to kick their ass.
And it's not like it's a secret what the draft rankings are all published, right? Like it's not like it's a secret where these people actually fit into the general order.
You as a GM,
and so if you're sitting at the top, I'm sorry, it's not about competing these days. Kids these days are different, man. It's not about competition at all. It's about sitting back and making sure you can get the highest draft prospects
as a GM,
so that you can put that on your resume and you can make X number of dollars more in every step of your life moving forward.
You are not getting a second contract if you do not have the will to compete. You
Yeah,
won't
but
make
maybe
it
he
to
does have the
fucking
will to
5
compete.
years.
That's not that has nothing to do with it.
Well,
We're talking
you just
about
talked about getting a lifetime, long time.
yeah,
like,
but we're
big
talking
earnings.
we're talking about one moment. We're talking about one event.
So he's saying that basically that if you don't show up to
And
the
compete with everybody for everything, every moment possible.
But you don't. No, here it is. You don't compete with a small number of athletes that is chosen by the league to come and be able to compete. If you don't compete in that, you don't have try hard. You're not a hard worker.
Well,
I'm not sure about that.
That's completely wrong. I think that's completely wrong.
As a guy like T. Higgins, though,
I think that's
it's a
old
different
school
animal.
mentality.
It's a different animal.
And that's what I'm
when
trying.
you're
Yes.
Joe Burrow, who's probably going number 1.
Yeah.
You're different when you're Chase, right? And he's going number 2.
Right.
Okay, so what do?
Right, but
they can preserve it.
So you're saying
it.
He's projected the number 3 wide receiver off the board. So the proof will be where he gets picked. And then when he gets picked, if they say, "Oh, he dropped," we let him drop because he didn't compete at the combine. That'll tell me that you're right, but I don't think that's...
It's not because he didn't compete at the combine. That's not my entire point. My point is I don't draft him as a GM who probably on average only gets 3 or 4 first-round picks in his career, and if he blows 2 or 3 of the 4, he's not getting a GM job ever again. He's fired as a GM. You can't blow first-round picks. And as a first-round pick, I want a high compete level. That's the leader of my team at some point.
But you're saying that
level.
If they don't compete at the combine, they don't have a high compete level.
I want a high compete level guy. I want him
But
to
the
say
combine
every
really
time,
is meaningless, right, as far as football goes.
Then why do so many guys go?
Because they get on TV.
Why do all the front office guys go?
Those are guys who need to increase their draft stock.
If it means nothing, no one would be there.
Is Burrow there?
Burrow's there?
Doing interviews. He's not throwing.
He doesn't need to.
Exactly.
Joe Burrow is the consensus number 1.
Yeah.
T. Higgins
That's exactly the point.
All it means is that you know where you sit and you're happy with where you sit, or you figured that this could jeopardize where you sit.
Old bull, young bull. T. Higgins is the young bull. He's not on the top of the hill. He doesn't rule the whole thing. Joe Burrow does. Joe Burrow has very little to prove, and what you are wondering you will get out of him at his pro day. T. Higgins, I think he's hiding something. He's getting bad advice.
Well, that could be.
He should be doing something there.
That could be
to help
completely
himself.
true. I just don't think that it means that much.
You see it every year. There's 1 or 2 guys who are borderline first rounders or even mid first round ranking, and they don't work out. That's a top 3 guy thing to do. That's a top 3 guy thing to do.
I'm betting he does a pro day.
He'll do a pro day.
So,
and I think T. Higgins is getting bad advice. His compete level as an athlete should want him to get out there.
Can you get him on the show next week so we can ask him?
I don't want to talk to T. Higgins. I might go too old school on him. He'd cry.
What if he's a
and
Denver Bronco?
Get a participation ribbon. Well, then we're fucked.
You're already fucked.
Well, did you know
you don't have a quarterback?
Why isn't Tom Brady linked to the Denver Broncos? All these talk of where he's going to go.
Because he doesn't want Peyton Manning's sloppy seconds?
Oh. I thought he would be an ideal fit for Denver. You know why?
Because
the balls are lighter. He likes that.
Because you can't you can't.
Let's air in them balls,
Because you can't
baby.
win Super Bowls without 40-plus year-old quarterbacks.
Anyway, two guys I mentioned last week that were a little bit lower ranked, but maybe would be good CFLers. One didn't make it to the combine, but one is Levante Bellamy, who I think could be a pretty decent little CFL running back. He ran a 4.5. He's 5'9", $192. So, and a current 6th round grade. So, I kind of think, yeah, maybe
It's possible.
passes or catches passes, not too bad, stuff like that. But little eyeball on the lower kind of ranked guys because they're on that
they're
CFL
on that
radar,
bubble.
right? So,
Yep.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about Jordan Love, Jake Fromm, and Jacob Eason. 3 quarterbacks who are all rumored to be the next 3 quarterbacks.
Right.
And they're talking 5 potentially could go in the first round. So it's Herbert, Tua, Burrow, and then
Eason.
but potentially 2 more. So Eason has a huge arm. He ran a 4.89, pocket guy. I personally think he's in the 40 to 60 range, but the big arm's going to make somebody
Right.
fall in love.
Quarterbacks always go higher than they're supposed to.
Right. To me, he's a poor man's Jay Cutler.
Well, that's not a good start. You don't want a poor
Even
man.
the rich man's Jay Cutler.
Yeah, you don't want what Jay Cutler do you want? I'm not sure.
Smoking Jay Cutler.
You want
I don't know.
I don't even-
I'm just saying.
Jesus.
I really don't think he's a first rounder.
not with that endorsement.
He doesn't have maybe
You should
quite
call him up. You should
he doesn't have quite
see if
the
he wants to
pocket
use
presence.
that tagline.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey,
Draft me.
Jacob
I'm
Eason.
a poor man's Jay
Yeah.
Cutler.
Yeah, if he gets sponsored by Craven A or something, cut some kind of deal. No, looking at him, I mean, someone's going to fall in love with the big arm. Maybe it'll get him into the first round. Personally, looking at some of his highlight tape, shit like that, I think he's an NFL quarterback. I just don't think you hook your wagon to him that high. And he has some pocket issues. He's not real mobile, which is a big deal nowadays in the league. To me, he's a 40 to 60 guy, pit draft slot kind of range guy.
Or you could sit behind somebody. Maybe.
Yeah, and maybe learn some stuff. But my mic's falling down.
I always find it so hard to tell when they're at the college level, though, right? Because, I mean, there's so many guys who
It
look
is.
great in college and they get to the pros. And, I mean, like, there's a lot of NFL quarterbacks who are really not NFL quarterbacks, right?
But I mean, nowadays, I think quarterbacks,
Some of them that are first overall picks.
Absolutely.
with the mobility that's required at the quarterback position now, more and more, a guy who runs a 4.89 he's too slow. He's so limited in what you can do. You can't even truly bootleg him out, or nobody's respecting the RPO, or, like, he's just so limited with the modern game. So, and if he can't stand in the pocket with really good poise and presence and make the reads.
Yeah, you need somebody who can make good decisions.
Yeah, so he's got a little work on the decision making. He's not fleet of foot. It's just that big arm. The big arm makes you fall in love. That's what she said. Oh! Anyway, moving on.
The whole arm?
The whole arm. The baby's arm. Jake Fromm held off 2 blue chippers in his college career, and he ran a 5.01 40, which
A hell of an O-line
he's
speed.
not a super good athlete. Like, he's 6'2", 215, 225-ish, that range. He's not a super big guy, but he does release well. He has played in a pro offense, which I think is important.
It's helpful.
Right?
Certainly helpful.
He does. He's accurate. He anticipates well, but he has a very average arm. Very average. So you're kind of predicating everything on timing and spacing.
Yeah.
and
I don't think that works
protection.
these days.
And yeah, again,
Well, that would be Alex Smith.
Alex Smith was a good athlete.
I think Alex Smith's
Yeah,
better than this guy.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
So,
he was a bit of
Heath's
an
got
athlete.
him compared to
I've got
Chad Pennington.
Chad
so
Chad
that's-
Pennington didn't have a big arm.
Yeah.
He was a smart guy, could run a pro offense,
Couldn't win.
dink and dunk, but not a true franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, there's talk he may sneak into the first round here, Jake Fromm, but I mean, I think he's barely a second rounder.
Yeah.
I
no,
think
I
after
don't
the
like-
first 64 guys go, you're going to see his name maybe still on the board, unless somebody has some kind of system. Actually, a place that I thought he could maybe go would be a place like New England for them on the cheap, right? Now, a lot of stuff
Well, they might
Brady
be
does
searching
is a
for
lot of
starting
dink and
quarterback
dunk, right?
first
Like,
right now.
they never really opened it up unless they had Randy Moss. So a lot of dink and dunk. He might be a guy that could do that. But Chan Peddington, yeah, he's not a wow guy. I figured 50 to 75 range would be a spot for him. But another guy who's being rumored to go in the first round. Jordan Love is, to me, maybe the best of the three. He ran a 4.7, so he's got enough mobility to do some RPOs, do some stuff, right? Bootlegs, whatever. He's a real smooth thrower of the ball. He has decent, pretty decent velocity. It's not rank like Jacob Eason's, but he probably does need some time to groom. He sort of doesn't process what's going on well. Like, it's a little late on reads and that kind of thing. So, and he's not terribly accurate, but I think he's a 50 to 75 range guy with more upside than a Fromm, because he's a better athlete. But if those issues of accuracy and that kind of stuff and not process, he's a career backup for a while, and who knows where he'll end up. But out of the three, though, the one guy at the combine who was not even rumored to go in the first round, or even potentially in the first round, barely the second round, was Jalen Hurts. And I actually think he ran a good 40. He ran a good offense at a couple of places. He's a very mature young man. He has all the prerequisites: good arm, good accuracy, right? Resilient. So
anything can happen. He
might be a guy who ends up getting drafted ahead of these three guys, and that really wasn't the talk. And I would be more comfortable as an evaluator with Jalen Hurts and his measurables and where he's been and his maturity.
Well, especially if he puts up numbers at the combine, eh?
Right.
That's important.
It does help. I mean, a quarterback who runs a 5 or worse is not going to be able to survive in today's NFL. They can't. And if you have a shitty arm, you have a shitty arm. We're going to find out. If you run slow like T. Higgins, then maybe we're going to find out. More the point, though, Jalen Hurts is not getting talked about like I think he should be getting talked about.
Well, he is now.
But somewhere out there, they got it in their head that he's a third-round guy, but I actually think I'd be just as comfortable with him in the third round as any of these guys being on my team. So let's talk about quarterbacks lots more.
Quarterbacks.
The Bucks are looking to sign Winston to that 2-year deal. We talked about that prior, right?
Yep.
Or in previous podcast. Got his eyes fixed. He had a meniscus surgery now.
Yep.
I think this guy may be a F-150. Have you ever heard of somebody getting fixed up?
No, it sounds like it's the new Dodge Ram. If it's
no. Dodges have little glitches, but I mean a complete breakdown.
Is that what we call it? You should ask Sheldon. He just bought a new Dodge and had to get it towed off of the lake.
Yeah, it's glitches. Did he put it on the end of his hook, or what's going on? $27 million. He's talking about he wants 30 though, but
he should be lucky he's getting a deal at all.
Well, goddamn, he breaks down a lot, I guess. But now that he can move a little better with a better meniscus and
new eyes, and laser eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Jameis Winston. I think he's workable. But anyway, I just thought it was funny. It's like, holy shit, another thing he needs fixed.
Yeah, well, it's off season. You get the things fixed.
Yeah, you watch. There'll be one more thing. Anyway, Andy Dalton. The Red Rocket, or the Red Rifle. Everybody's talking about him. Where's he going? What's he doing? Blah, blah, blah. This team, that team. So now the Bears are kicking the tires for him to be a backup.
The Bears say they want a veteran.
Okay.
But they haven't said that they want a veteran for a backup. They just say they want to sign a veteran.
Fair enough. But what's Trubisky making? Truly.
What is he, 10?
He's a young guy, first contract still, but I mean, not terribly cheap, but not terribly expensive.
Not terribly good.
But Dalton's a $17 million guy. That's what his contract is. So is.
Didn't they release him?
No.
Oh
no.
They're trying to trade him.
Yeah, he's an asset that can fetch you something. So to me, they're talking about he's going to be the backup to Trubisky. Fuck that, he is. They're looking to see if they can get him for some kind of cheap price. They're looking to get rid of Trubisky. Yeah, and they don't want to fall right on their face at the end of the year. They want to salvage their year somehow. That's their front office's way of saying, we don't want to get fired. newsflash. You guys drafted Trubisky, you should probably be fired. The Pats and the Colts are also two teams.
Well, the Pats are going to need
And
a quarterback.
The Colts apparently, I just heard today that they're not maybe in on the Dalton thing. But
hey, the Pats did well with another has-been Bengal back in the day.
Back in the day, a little Corey Dillon.
Corey Dillon action, man. Resurrected. Could happen.
Andy Dalton.
Is not Corey Dillon?
No, he's not Corey Dillon. I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick could bring him in and do some good things with him, though. He would cut down on his gingerceptions.
I just noticed his hair really matches that uniform really well.
Does,
eh?
yeah.
So he has to be a brown.
He throws gingerceptions. That's my thought. Anyway, I don't think, and it sounds like Rivers is going to be a Colt and Brady's going to maybe be a Titan or a Raider. You think so?
I think it's going to be a Raider. It just
feels
like that's what's
going to be. Did you see the FaceTimey thing?
Yeah,
with
Vrabel
with Brady.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they're trolling everybody. I think that was all done to troll. That same as that commercial with Brady, and I think Brady is having a lot of fun fucking with everybody. I really do.
Well, you know what?
I would.
If you're not having fun, what are you having?
This is like Favre watch back in the day.
Well, it kind of is, and this is sort of what I was going to say though. With Brady, we can talk about Jameis, we can talk about Dalton, we can talk about quarterbacks of the draft, we can talk about Phillip Rivers, we can talk about Tua or Joe Burrow or any of these guys. The first domino to fall, and there's a lot of potential quarterback turnover. The first domino to fall is going to be Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Everybody's waiting on
Everybody
Tom
follows
Brady.
after that,
for sure. For sure.
Right? So, what happens to Ryan Tannehill or Derek Carr or, whoever, like,
who's going to be the Darrell Walker?
Maybe
sitting on the outside.
Somebody's on the outside looking in. Somebody got thrown off the merry-go-round.
Somebody thought they were going to get a big payday and didn't.
We should have been killed riding merry-go-rounds back in the day, but here we are.
Yeah.
Barely any brain trauma.
Barely.
But I think Brady is the first domino to fall, and I do agree he's probably fucking with everybody a little bit, at the very least.
For sure.
I really personally think I would like to see him be a Titan. Good. He's got a comfort level there with Vrabel. They've got a solid defense.
Nashville's a hopping place to be.
Well, that too. They've got a very winnable division. He's got two young weapons. They got a good O-line. They got a good running game. Right?
It'll be.
They got close. What do they need to go over the top?
It'll be, what does he want? Does he want to win more championships, or does he want to kind of go for the glitz and glamour and be a star outside of New England?
Back to the being a competitor thing. He's got glitz and glamour.
Yeah.
He's got that. He's got brand recognition for the rest of his life because he's got 6 reasons why you should want to know who he is. Me personally, I think he wants 7. He wants 7.
So
the best
does he
fit
have
for 7.
So do you think the Titans are the better fit?
Well, the Titans have as good of a line as the Raiders, right?
Raiders
Jacobs
got how many first rounders this year?
2. Jacobs is a very good running back. So is big boy there. Yeah. Name escapes me. I should know it off the top of my head. Anyway, they tongue flips upside down. I had to say a name. I had to say a name. Derrick Henry.
That's
it. John Henry's hammer. Anyway, but they also have 2 young receivers in AJ and Davis who are very good, and a good quarterback like Brady could make them even better. They're dangerous.
For sure.
So,
But if Brady wants a 7th championship, don't his best prospects for that really still lie in going back to New England?
No, I don't think so.
If you look at New England's skill positions,
I don't think so.
Who's a Pro Bowler?
Edelman?
When has it mattered in that system?
Yeah, but he needs talent.
They produce Pro Bowl players, right?
They picked a kid, N'Keal Harry. He's not a very good receiver.
Yeah.
He's a screen pass, run for yards kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right? Julian Edelman, 30, whatever. He's slowing down.
Yeah, I know they're both.
Who else do they have? They have no tight end game. They have actually the worst tight ends in the league.
Did they have tight ends?
Well, 32nd in passing yards by tight ends.
Oh, right. They had Ben Watson back, didn't they?
when you go from like basically top 5 for years and years and years, and it's part of a staple of what you do, and now you're 32nd, they need a tight end. Who's the running back of note? Sony Michel. Well, they can't open holes for him. The O-line's not quite as good as it used to be, right? And he's averaging less than 4.
Well, but who's coming up through the system, right? Like I always think of them like
anything.
I always think of them like the Stamps, right? Like we count them out every year, and then every year they're like right there.
But they actually have skill players on the offensive side that are a little bit dangerous. Theirs are either old, Edelman, or young and not as good as people think in Harry. They have a huge hole at tight end. They went on the cheap last year. That's part of the problem. They went on the cheap, and I think that pissed Brady off. I'm
Especially
in the twilight. I have no extra time to piss around. Go get me something.
Yeah, and he's taking pay cuts all the time. So.
Yeah, so he's gonna get to a spot where he doesn't have to play these games. Like Bill's like an old man now, right? Gets to the till. He's that dude who pays in nickels, and you're standing behind him going, "What the fuck, man? Give the dude a $5. Let's go. It's coffee." Anyway, you can tell how my day at the mall went, hey?
Bad day at the mall.
Yeah, when you buy a Tim Hortons in the mall, you're just like, oh my God, how many old people are in line?
You're going to be one of those old people soon.
Nope, I just drop a $5 down. Give me the change. We're out of here. In fact, I'm modern. I just
use my app because
the app
and
works
a mobile
too.
pickup. Then I don't have to wait for anybody.
Awesome. Anyway, Rivers is going to be a Colt. Almost a foregone conclusion.
Yep.
Yeah. Indiana, lots of kids. It fits.
It fits.
Laramie Tunsil, who held more people last year. I'm not talking shower guys. Led the league as a left tackle in holding calls last year.
I don't think I want to be on a
little
sports
touchy-feely.
team with Heath.
He's a touchy-feely guy. He gave 2 first-rounders and a second-rounder to get him, plus Kenny Stills in return. Led the league in holding. They're talking about giving him $19 or $20 million a year. I guess when you give up that kind of draft capital, you almost have to pay him, even if he is kind of
and they say there's
not
holding
that,
on every play, so
there is, but he gets fucking caught. He gets caught.
So if you're getting caught, you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
So he needs to work on that this year.
Fair enough. I just kind of saw the number, and I'm just like, well, I guess they have to pay him.
Well, they need him.
You gave up 2 drafts for him, essentially. And Washington was at the combine.
That's a dumb move, man.
They're looking to draft 2 a second overall to compete with Haskins, who they picked 15th overall. Only Washington.
Take Chase and shut up.
Yeah. Rivera being a defensive coach, how do you not want Chase?
This has got to be all just like fodder.
And I was trying to think of that too. It's like the smoke and mirror game, right?
It's got to be.
Who are they trying to smoke out?
Well, they just watched Arizona last year and go,
somebody to come up and get Tua. If you don't come up and trade with us to get him at number 2, we're going to pick him.
Right.
I don't even need a rumor on another team. I'm that team.
Yeah.
So
that it feels more like that than.
But again, Haskins not your guy. Tua rebuilding.
True too, but
yeah, I don't know. One last quarterback to talk about. Tomy Romo.
Straight cash, homie.
So
Straight cash, homie.
yeah, he's getting paid a little more money than a lot of guys.
A lot of guys.
$17 million a year would give him the same amount of money as Andy Dalton per year as an actual starting quarterback in the NFL.
He doesn't take any shots to the head.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. And
Seems
at
like a
$17 million, they're only 1 win apart in playoff wins, and I think Tony probably is going to stay that way. I don't think Dalton may win any games, but Tony with his big win total in the playoffs. But he's a winner today, he was a winner this week. So he was making $4 million per year on his initial contract, and he jumped to $17 million per year. The deal's for 7 years, but it could be worth
for 10 years.
10 years at that price tag.
If the CBA is signed.
So the rumor was ESPN was coming after him for the 12 to 15 million range, and they paid him 17. Yeah. Now here's the crazy part. When I read this, Troy Aikman is a very distant second as the next highest paid guy.
And he's a very distant second as a commentator or as a color guy.
Yeah.
I can't stand
Troy
Aikman.
Troy Aikman as a second.
And Joe Buck, they can go to hell. I hate them.
I don't think Troy Aikman's actually the number 2 guy.
Good, because
He's
shouldn't
not
be.
in the medals.
So he's being
not
overpaid.
a podium. He's not a podium guy here. He's a participation ribbon guy. Maybe the XFL will get him. Phone Vince.
Oh, God, he's so terrible.
Yeah. Stop the match.
Pay Tony. Get Tony to do more games. Can they clone him? He could do all the games. They'll just clone him.
They just put him in a booth.
Yeah, just
7
a whole bunch of
screens.
Tonys.
Yeah.
He does the best job.
Good
at
on
it.
him. There was some outcry from Michael Thomas was another one. We talked about Michael Thomas a few podcasts ago, and I kind of think he's a bit of a whiner.
Well,
and
he's a receiver. They're kind of like the lead guitar player of football teams.
And he's commentating or commenting that Romo shouldn't be getting $17 million. Right? Yeah. He's getting paid more than, I can't remember whatever percentage, 90% of the NFL.
Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what, Michael Thomas? You worry about your job and making your paycheck and maximizing that. Don't talk about another man's money.
If you excel at your position, you get paid, homie.
If you're that jealous,
get in the booth.
Get in the booth.
Stop playing football.
And hate us because they ain't us. Right? Michael Thomas, you're well paid. You'll be well paid for quite a while in the NFL. Just mind your own business. Mind your business.
You suck, you jackass.
But he seems to not be able to mind his business. That's kind of my point. But good on Romo. Good on CBS.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for him. But
he's good, though.
I mean,
they're obviously bringing in enough viewers to
6.5 to 7 million, or 6.5 to 7.5 though was Aikman as this number 2 guy. So I mean, nobody in the broadcasting,
that's Fox, right?
Nobody in the broadcasting industry. I looked. I can't find anybody who said a bad word about Romo getting paid. Because why would you? He just drove the price tag way up.
Wait for Jim Nantz to get ask for a raise.
Yeah,
raise.
exactly. So
sitting beside his $17
little curiosity
boy.
question for me though. We all played Madden. Madden was a legend. He was a commentator. What is Madden worth in today's day and age? Prime
when Madden was in his prime?
Prime Madden. If Tony Romo's 17, what's prime Madden?
Well,
it's got to be 17.
Well, I'm
at least.
Yeah, it'd be up there.
I think they're pretty close.
For sure.
Yeah, for
Romo's
sure.
kind of that next sort of guy,
Yeah.
right? He's that name in the booth that you're kind of like, wow.
I'd like to think he's got a lot more good years ahead of him though in the booth than Madden had.
Yeah.
This is a great game of football.
Yeah. Turducken. Get some turducken. The only thing is though, is that I never really want to see Tony Romo Madden. I don't want to see a Tony Romo video game.
Oh, no,
is that
just
a lot of fumbles, eh?
Just build a good defense. He'll throw it to you. Anyway.
Right on.
He's not Madden. He's not Madden. Anyway, that's enough. Goddamn end of the show, hey?
End of the show.
Did we get... Oh, we did get a right answer.
We did. We got a right answer.
Yeah.
It was Dale Howard
Dale Howard-Chuck. Gretzky, Lemieux, Howard-Chuck.
Hell of a line.
That's a hell of a line.
Hell of a line.
Might be the best line in hockey ever. You think?
No, Ginla wasn't on it.
Where's that fucking Homer horn?
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways,
we're
it was
all
a good
done.
There you go.
That's you tooting Iggy's horn.
But we appreciate you guys
Thanks for tuning in.
Listening to our podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button, share, subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the bell. If not, just show up every Monday at 7 Saskatchewan time and chat with us. Until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Heath.
And back in the control room, Matt.
Word up.
And we're the Above Average Joes. And we'll see you next week. Laters.